I get a lot of questions about what books were banned in prison. And yes, the 48 Laws of Power is banned. And yes, The Art of War by Sun Tzu is banned, at least here in Virginia, but things used to be so much worse. When I first got locked up, the policy was applied so strictly that books like Ulysses by James Joyce or Lady Chatterley's Lover were considered pornography and therefore banned from possession. Now, I guarantee you there's nobody sitting over in the corner of a library anywhere in the world like reading Ulysses as pornography like it's a Playboy. So thankfully, we had a local civil rights attorney, a guy named Steve Rosenfield, who was an absolute saint, who took up this cause. And he wrote briefs or directly filed briefs for a whole number of causes involving civil rights in the prison system, and he absolutely made things better for us. I'm thankful to this day. I was actually lucky enough to be able to work for him when I first got out. So he filed a suit, and the judge who got the suit read it and wrote this scathing opinion, where he basically said this policy is applied so strictly that we can't have the Bible, we can't have the Quran, we can't have basically any religious text, we can't have history books because they have descriptions that are too vivid. So he basically said, according to the policy as it's written, we can't have anything. The library needs to be empty. And he said that that's unacceptable. So the new policy was that we cannot have something that doesn't have social or intentional value. So like pornography that's just pornography you can't have, but if it has social value or educational value, we can have it. Well, what that meant, interestingly enough, is we went from not being able to have anything to they couldn't ban 50 Shades of Grey because it was such a popular novel, or the series was so popular, that it had social value, that it was being talked about in the public arena, and then to not allow prisoners access was to disadvantage them, to lose, access to this social opportunity. And I thought that was so hilarious because we went from not being able to get anything because they wanted to be so strict to forcing them to give us something. So all of a sudden, we can get pretty much any book that has social value. So anything that's directly related to physical harm, we weren't allowed to have martial arts books, and they were floating around, but they were really hard to get. You weren't allowed to have books directly on manipulation and deceit. And once again, the Department of Corrections started really clamping down and unfairly or unreasonably applying this policy, and there were issues in their suits, and that's still kind of an ongoing issue. But basically what they found is restricting things unreasonably doesn't help anybody. It ended up just costing the Department of Corrections legal fees by having people having to pay for, whatever. So then we had the movie thing. So some prisons show movies, and what they do is from the money in commissary, there's a certain portion that's taken out, and basically an added tax to the commissary that then goes back to pay for cable TV or pay for weights or pay for recreation equipment. And some prisons choose to pay for the license to show movies and then rent movies from Netflix or from Redbox or from wherever, and then show movies on the weekends. And the way it works is it runs through the cable system, and it's just like another channel on your TV, so you can sit in your cell and you can watch these movies. And we had this warden that at the time nobody liked because he was super strict and he was super by the book, but his way of doing things was, I'm going to let you have everything you're allowed to have and nothing else, and I want you to be in bed by this time, and I want you to have your ID on at all times. And so he didn't get a good reception from guys, but what he did was kind of push the limits on some things. So all of a sudden we went from only being allowed PG-13 movies or only being allowed things. He said, if it's a movie and it's not rated X, you can have it. So we saw 50 Shades of Grey. We saw all these knockoff Showtime pornography movies that everybody's kicking their cellie out of the cell to do. So you'll see guys and they'll basically ask their cellie to leave, and then they'll hang something in the door so that if somebody walks by, they can't see in. So you'll be out in the pod and you'll notice that every door has something over it because they got basically porno on TV, and guys who don't have access to women are gonna engage in spectator sports of pornography. Anyway, so we had these movies, and we had these for 3 months. And I mean, every weekend there was something crazy, and guys were super happy. And it got to the point the guys were getting tired of it. They're like, dude, I don't want to watch another softcore porn with Alicia Silverstone. I need a break. And then the PREA thing came in. So PREA is a Prison Rape Elimination Act, and it was designed to stop sexual assault in prison. Now, at least in Virginia, sexual assault was not a common practice. It was not widespread, so it was largely laughed off by the staff and by the prisoners. But one of the things that they did was restrict what could be shown on TV or what could be shown through movies. So basically, everything that had sexual content was going to be banned. And it seemed really strange to me to say, hey, you can't have pornography to go masturbate to, essentially. We're going to only deny you access whatsoever, and therefore that's somehow going to stop rape. That isn't happening. But that was their application, and there was this big issue about that, and people fought and went back and forth. And I remember we had to get a special distinction or a special whatever to get a World War II movie that showed Holocaust victims who were coming out of the camps but were naked, so you would see a bare breast, and they were going to try to violate the movie for PREA. And I was I'm pretty sure that the Holocaust has nothing to do with prison rape. I think that that's a stretch. And thankfully, at least in that instance, they were yeah, we're not going to apply this. We're just going to let you guys see the movie. But it was one of those things where, once again, these rules go into place. They don't have any connection to reality. They don't necessarily make any sense. They're not necessarily good ideas, but there's something that's applied because they're trying to keep people safe or they're trying to control the system. And I don't know that we need widespread pornography. I actually think it would be much more important for people to have regular, healthy relationships with people that they're sexually attracted to. So like you have community events where people are able to meet their girlfriends, or people able to meet people from the the public, or people able to engage in ways that are not controlled by like rank and privilege. Because what you get is a bunch of institutionalized guys who don't know how to talk to women, who get out of prison and either see what they saw in a rap video that tells them, hey, I'm gonna go do this, or have no idea whatsoever, or just engage in like really unhealthy behavior and go try to like proposition women because they've been told that it's so bad out there, you got to buy it. Like this total disconnect from what's actually going on. So the big problem is we don't give people that. We don't give people like widespread reading material, and like I said, that got better, but it's now getting worse again. We don't expose people to relationships, so then we get mad when they want to watch pornography because we don't allow them to have like healthy, meaningful contact with the opposite sex. And this is for people that are getting out in like 6 days or 6 months or 6 years. It's not just lifers, right? Like I can understand you saying, oh, well, lifers don't need to have these skills. But once again, 95% of people in prison are going home one day. If we don't prepare them by teaching them things like job skills or social skills or emotional regulation skills or how to talk to people of the opposite sex, well, should we really be surprised when we have problems with them getting out and like saying incredibly inappropriate things or propositioning women or not knowing how to work a job or not doing the right thing in the right situation? So again, the restrictions, I don't really understand the intention. I don't know what they're driving toward. But if their goal isn't rehabilitation, it doesn't make sense.